You're welcome.
Thank you.
You can sit here if you like.
Make sure you all have like a phone or some type of device that can
Okay.
connect to internet.
I can do that.
I didn't bring mine in. Okay.
Today I'm going to talk about Fedora. Some system requirements for Fedora are you have your CPU, either AMD or Intel processor, at least 1 gig of memory. I mean, more than likely you'll want a little more than that if you want to get anything done anytime soon. Same with the storage, at least 10 gigs, but if you want to download anything, you want more than that. And the sound and graphics, most things are supported by that, so you don't have to worry about getting extra drivers for that. The basics. Fedora was developed by the Fedora project. The initial release was November 6, 2003, and that was Core 1. The current release, which just came out in May 2018, is Fedora 28, and Fedora 29 is currently in beta. It is available in several different languages, and it updates about every 6 months. What is Fedora? Fedora is an operating system, of course, that's why I'm presenting on it today. It's open source and Linux based. Fedora is always free for anyone to use, modify, and distribute. Fedora is said to be the second most commonly used Linux distribution. I know Brian over in OCS uses it daily.
Do you know what he uses it on?
That's what his desktop is running. The history of Fedora. The Fedora project was created in late 2003 when Red Hat Linux was discontinued. The name Fedora derives from Fedora Linux, a volunteer project that provided extra software for the Red Hat Linux distribution, and from the characteristic Fedora hat used in Red Hat's Shadow Man logo. Warren Tagami began Fedora Linux in 2002 as an undergraduate project at the University of Hawaii, and he intended to provide a single repository for well-tested third-party software packages so that non-Red Hat software would be easier to find, develop, and use. Who uses Fedora? Roadrunner, which is the #1 supercomputer in the world. Red Hat Linux, and OLPC, which is 1 laptop per child. It's a company that hands out laptops to children. Wikipedia uses it, many universities and web hosting companies, and NASA. Fedora memory management. Some of the memory management techniques used in Fedora are page caching, swapping, and then virtual memory. So page caching is the main disk cache used by the Linux kernel. In most cases, the kernel refers to the page cache when reading from or writing to disk. Page cache is an area in memory that caches files to improve disk input-output performance. And all I/O in Linux goes through the page cache. Swapping. Swapping is a mechanism in which a process can be swapped temporarily out of memory or moved to secondary storage and make that memory available to other processes. At some later time, the system swaps the processes back from the secondary storage to the main memory. Virtual memory. The system never allocates physical memory directly. A process will think it is the only task running on the system, but it's really not. The virtual memory is then mapped to physical memory using page tables. So there's kind of like a diagram here of how it's working. The processor management is a multitasking operating system, so you can run more than one process at once. Each process has a process identification, or PID, which is sequentially assigned. The file management. Fedora generally uses FHS, which is File System Hierarchy Standard. In the FHS, all files and directories appear under the root directory, even if they are stored on different physical or virtual devices. So the ability to mount it in the user partition as read-only, this is crucial since this contains common executable files and should be changed by users. So this is kind of a diagram of how the structure is laid out. So the bin, short for binaries, this directory is where many commonly used executable commands reside. The dev contains device-specific files, and I'll talk more about that where all your devices store all their files later. The etc contains system configuration files. The home contains user directories and files. The lib contains all library files, and so on. So most device drivers can be loaded in the loader config file on install, but most drivers are already included in the install, so you don't have to worry about going out and getting an extra driver and loading it. And device drivers are stored in a folder called dev in the file system tree. And this command here helps show information about the different devices. So it'll show what devices you have connected. So like whenever I would run that command on my laptop, it'll show the USBs that I have plugged in and things like that. Fedora works with a wide variety of hardware, and in most cases it'll automatically detect your system components. Every driver has two files, one that's actually a driver and is loaded at runtime, usually referred to as modules. The other file is the device file. This holds configurations about the device. This configuration will describe how the hardware should be used. The network manager, it's called the network manager. And Damien attempts to make networking configurations and operation as painless and automatic as possible. It automatically connects, so you don't have to go in there unless you, for some reason, turn it off or something. You don't have to go in there and connect. It'll automatically connect. Security. Fedora is thought to be an action and leader in many of the latest Linux security initiatives. Fedora provides a default firewall that can both limit incoming and outgoing connections, and easy and painless administration policy kit, which it pulls up every time and makes you put in your root if you go to like add a user and wants to make sure that you okay it. I have some pictures of this is the policy kit that it asks your password for root whenever you go to like create a user or something, kind of like Windows. And then that's the firewall configuration window. They have different flavors of Fedora. So they have Workstation, which is a polished, easy-to-use operating systems for laptops, desktops, with a complete set of tools for developers and things. Server, which basically is self-explanatory. It's a flexible operating system that includes the best and latest data center technologies. It puts you in control of all your infrastructure and services. And then Atomic provides the best platform for your Linux Docker application stack. I think Brian uses this a lot too, because he was talking to me about it. I'm not sure exactly all about that yet. You can get different types of GUIs for your operating system. GNOME, KDE, which is what I have installed on mine, XFCE, and Cinnamon. So to install a GUI, you have to be logged in under the command line as your root, and then you'll just type in this command here, DNF install, and then and then whatever GUI you'd like, and then it'll install it. I'll show you that later too. Some different commands. So the IF config gives you network card information, your IP addresses. Alias lists all the aliases you have. Netstat gives you information about active internet connections. And then you can delete a user if you don't want it on your, and you can add it and set a password for it, or you can shut down from the command line, or you can kill a process. You can display free disk space. This command here will print current user ID and name. And of course, this is how you install a GUI. Mail is a application you can download, so kind of like Outlook type of thing. So just some pros of that is offers a powerful and flexible mail filters and virtual folders for email management, integrates secure encrypted email using both OpenPGP and S-MIME, configurable messages, templates, and text expansion helps compose, relies using OFT use text.
Could you go back there just a minute? Okay.
There's a rich option, menu items and knobs to turn as it is in function and may be unapproachable. Kmail lacks internal spam filters or tight integration with external tools. Samba file sharing. Samba is a free software that was released in 1992. This file sharing works well with Active Directory for Windows, and it works on most Linux and Unix systems. So these are my quiz questions, just to give you a preview of what they're going to be. And then, so if you go to kahoot.it.
We're gonna play a little Kahoot.
Let's do the video. What was that pin?
What'd you say it was, 5420555?
Yeah.
It says that it doesn't work.
Probably doesn't have
Launched it yet?
yeah.
Wait, doesn't that code change everything all the time? I thought it did.
I've been
We'll
running.
find out here in just a second.
Just trial by fire.
What's the code? 5420555.
Oh, it changed it.
I figured.
I'm sorry, I don't get to play, I'll just have to cheer from back here. I'm gonna
Alright.
bring my phone in.
Everybody put regular names.
Way day.
First.
First joy.
Oh, here we go with that again.
Forgot who that one was.
We had that happen one day.
Nathan, you're the only average one in there.
That's
Alright,
fine.
looks like everybody's in.
Z.
Everybody? Alright.
Are you ready? Maybe. So do we need to get rid of our brochures?
Yeah, hide them for a minute. Quick, answer your questions.
Oh, yeah, good job, guys, good job.
Alright, this is the first one.
Meister.
Two.
What was it, console?
Console, yeah, 'cause it's KDE.
Oh,
It's
because
called
you're using the
console.
KDE one.
Yeah.
I see.
Oh, dang it. I
Oh,
literally,
we got one wrong.
I was supposed to click KBP.
That was Brian.
Oh, Nathan's in the lead now.
Let's go.
I have the answers up there, but not on here.
Yeah, I know.
I don't remember off the top of
Yeah.
my head.
Ah.
Yes! I got that right.
Yeah, one in the lead.
I remember.
Now that could be tricky, you don't know if I do or not.
I don't think you do.
I don't know.
You don't know if I do or not.
Was right again? I guess.
Did it say Top Golf?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't remember this.
Yes.
Was that you?
We need to work on that one.
I don't know.
Whammy does it.
Last question. See who the winner was. Nathan.
Nathan.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
I missed one.
AJ, and then Brian.
No, they didn't see the game.
Do I get a cookie for that?
Sure.
Cookie.
You have to wait until he's done.
Yeah, I know, I'm
yes,
just
now.
kidding.
Alright, so now I'm gonna show you, so this is, I used VirtualBox to run, Fedora. I'm gonna log in.
Ooh, pretty colors.
Alright, so here's where it shows that it automatically connects to your network, which is, since I'm using wireless. You can also click there. If you need to disconnect it, you can. I installed, it's called Plank, it's like a dock.
Can I pause a minute? You said you're using wireless
Internet,
on your laptop.
Yeah.
But on there, it looks like it thinks it's connected. Is that-
because it's using VirtualBox, it thinks that I'm using a wired connection.
Okay.
And then, so I installed Plank, which is like a dock. So down here you can see I can store different files, and then I also installed Chromium. Because I don't like Firefox.
Were those your only two choices?
Yeah, they didn't, I couldn't get just regular Chrome. It crashed my computer, so I had to start over.
Yeah, it's the free version of Chrome. Google Chrome.
So to do that, I went to the Software Center. It's called Discover. Takes a little while to load.
Wait, so you can get your apps through there?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Different apps, so you can click internet and you can get different.
Yeah, that's pretty
And then all you have
cool.
to do is hit the install button and it'll install it, so you don't have to go through.
So is it kind of like the Windows
That's actually really nice.
Yeah, kind of like that, so you don't have to go through command line and
But you
install
could
it.
get the same applications through command line.
Yeah, you could, but this is just a prettier version. You don't have to remember all the commands. Let's see. So if I go down here to console, which is the terminal, I'll show you some commands. Can you see Austin?
I have a question about that. Is
Mhm.
console the name of Fedora's terminal, or is terminal the name of Fedora's terminal?
Terminal is the name of Fedora's, but console is KDE's.
Right, I just wanna make sure everybody understands that's really what we're talking about.
Okay.
So sudo, open password. And then, so the IF config, it shows which internet, and it gave me a 192.168.0 number because I'm connected to
I don't know if
the
it's.
private network for the HLG, or for the CIS department.
I don't know if it's different from Brian's, but can you make that bigger possibly, or is that how big it can go? I'm gonna guess it's probably the other things.
Yeah.
Alright, just wondering. You're good.
Probably zoom in with the projector.
It's fine, you're good.
I don't know if we can. Let me zoom in with the projector off.
Well, you'll have to tell us everything you're typing.
Okay. So I typed in IF config and I gave the network information for the wireless that I'm connected to, that it says that I'm hardwired in. The next command is alias. And that shows the different aliases that are assigned.
Can you read one of the examples?
Yes, alias space CP equals CP-I. And then another one is alias remove, or RM equals RM-I. So to display the free disk space, you type in DF, and then it gives you different files, like where they're stored, or where they're mounted. So this one's mounted in the dev, and I haven't used any. And there's one 0018748. I'm not sure if that's megabytes, gigabytes. It doesn't really tell you.
I think it wasn't it DF-H, which made it more human readable or something, that if you wrote it differently, it might give you it in gigs.
There we go. Yeah, it'll be, so available is 995 megabytes in the dev TMP FS folder. So I already have KDE installed, but I can still show you. If you type in DNF install and then at KDE-desktop. It'll take a minute.
Does this change, like if you went to,
So like when Fedora comes, it automatically comes installed with GNOME. And so if you want to put a different GUI on there, you go through the command line.
so you could change it back to GNOME if you
Yeah.
wanted to?
And it says last metadata expiration check, and it gives a time ago on Tuesday, 13th of November 2018, and the time it says dependencies resolved, nothing to do, complete, because it's already installed. So back to, this is kind of where I've got my information from. Is there any other questions? AJ?
How easy is it to like use and download? So like, say you were to build a desktop and then instead of going with like Microsoft, because it works, they pay for everything, would this be like a better option?
Yeah, I mean, it's all free, so you wouldn't have to worry about paying for anything.
With mine, it seems like you can't install every program that, like, you know, obviously Windows can.
Yeah.
So is there like any like popular like used program that like a lot of people use, like Spotify or whatever,
Yeah.
that can't be installed on there?
I didn't try all of them, of course, but I didn't find one that I couldn't, well, other than Google Chrome.
Okay,
I couldn't.
yeah.
But I think that's just because it's too big for, I didn't have enough space on my drive.
Well, Spotify actually works on Linux now. It's, I've been able to install.
Well, I know I can load on mine, so.
Do you think that the Fedora operating system could be containerized because my operating system uses containers for the pocket version?
I think that's part of the Atomic, is you can create different, what's it called?
Containers?
Yeah, containers.
Can Fedora work, I mean, so the base system is FHS.
Right.
But I'm assuming that it can, you know, like if you had like another hard drive and you want it to be another file system, you can do that.
Yeah.
My turn. Anybody else? Atomic, well, first of all, to finish that conversation, yes, containers and Kubernetes and trying to put applications in their own memory space is becoming a very, very, very big deal. We all need to be learning how to do that. So, that was one of the issues, somebody asked me when they walked in today, why Joel had so many. We were trying to build a cluster and he was trying to learn about too many things all at the same time, so we directed his path differently. But he was trying to get into some of that, and his hangup was on the cluster more than just the container. So maybe Wade will be able to do a good job showing us more about what containers really are. Not that he's doing better than Joel, that's not what I mean. I'm saying Joel will teach us some other things. And just because the cluster got in the way, we decided to go a different route. But that's gonna be really important, and so, yeah, this would be something for you to play with, is how am I gonna put my apps in their own VM kind of spaces so that when they crash? And what in the world is this Kubernetes thing that you mentioned? Because that was one of my questions when you said Atomic did that. Can you use, well, first of all, did you happen to SSH into anything or any other?
I mean, I just use VirtualBox, that's all.
Okay. Can you go out on the internet and show me a picture of who Roadrunner is? You said this was used by Roadrunner, the biggest. I'm shocked y'all even know who that is.
Oh, Wile E. Coyote?
That's
Yeah.
awesome, that show is legit.
I know, but I didn't even know anybody still watched it.
Oh, yeah.
We're like the last generation that knows the good stuff.
Yeah, I watched that before bedtime.
Okay.
So it's recording now. This is the last generation that knows what that is.
Now we have Teen Titans Go.
No, bullet. Gross.
Do you guys remember like Boomerang?
I don't remember Boomerang.
Wow, that's a
What is
So-
Roadrunner used for? You might want to make the picture bigger or go to the Wikipedia page or something. I don't know if that helps the picture any, but.
Says Roadrunner was a supercomputer built by IBM for the Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico. The US 1 million Roadrunner was designed for a peak performance of 1.7 petaflops and achieved 1.026 petaflops on May 25th, 2008 to become the world's first top 500 Linpack sustained 1.0 petaflop system.
So that means that
Now, can you get a picture, an image of it so we can see it?
so my graphics card is 6 teraflops, and that's over 1,000 teraflops. Wow.
And
Yes.
teraflops, what's a flop? Usually when we say, oh,
Full
something's a flop,
points.
it's not a good thing, but.
So that's like full projection. Like it's just like it's like the raw computational power of something.
It's called the floating point, or
Point.
floating operational points, and it can handle decimals very large,
that's a lot.
Guys, I
but
think
kinda
it
looks
was-
like a server room, but it's
I
a
think
single computer
teraflops.
working together.
They can do like 6 trillion calculations in so long. I think is
What
what
do
it.
they use a computer for?
It's like so many calculations per minute.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Does Does it have to say how many processors it's running or how much memory it
It
has?
was a hybrid design with 12,960 IBM PowerX cell and 6,480 AMD Opteron
That's
dual core processors.
wow.
With specially designed blade servers connected by InfiniBand. The Roadrunner uses Red Hat Linux along with Fedora as its operating system.
Wow. What kind of processes does it run?
It doesn't say what it's used, like what they use it for. Modeling the decay of the U.S. nuclear arsenal.
Yeah, gotta keep those codes, boys.
Go Fedora.
So
Okay.
if you wanna handle your nukes,
Yeah.
use Fedora.
Can you go back to your PowerPoint, first couple of slides, first few slides, I don't know if it was a couple, but you mentioned something about a loader config.file, I think it had to do with computers or devices. Yeah, it says most drivers can be loaded into the loader config file. Is there any way you could take us to the terminal and help us find and look at the loader.config file?
I don't remember where it was at. I don't remember exactly.
Is it not in the dev folder?
I think it is,
I don't know that we'll get to see a whole lot there, but because the reason I'm interested in that file, he said all of your drivers were loaded into Linux to start with. You mean they go out and get every driver of every device and they put it inside the kernel? How do they make it so small? How do they make it lightweight if it's got all the drivers? I just wanna see what exactly that means. Does anybody know what they mean by when it says it has all the drivers already there?
Then you don't have to go out and get, not necessarily get the drivers, but, all you really have to do is maybe update the drivers, like all the drivers are already there for you.
Well, there's a lot of devices out there, how does it know which ones they already installed?
Well, because Fedora's not really meant to be entirely lightweight, but it comes with a display manager by default. It's like Xorg or Systemd, and that holds all of your Visa drivers. It just works cross-platform, to where if you want to install device drivers after you do your install, it'll do it for you.
I think you're getting to what I'm trying to say. There's some pretty basic generic, even like printers and USBs, there's a bare bone, bottom line, this will work driver.
And they're good, but they get the job done.
And they get the job done, but if you need something very specific, you still may have to go install a Linux driver. So when they say they have all the Linux has all the drivers,
I mean, it has all the basic drivers. It doesn't.
it has all the I will function.
Yeah.
I can get letters out on the
I know,
printer.
I was reading a lot of people have to get the NVIDIA drivers now.
Right.
It doesn't
It's
like-
all manual.
And then, not every device out there wants to play with Linux, so they may not provide a Linux driver, right? So you're stuck with the bare bones, but they at least let you function. And that's really what I wanted to say, but I was also curious if I could see what the looked like when that loader config file.
Find it now.
I mean, I guess that's one I'll have to take for my takeaway from today. Go look it up.
You probably have it checked, but do you have it checked where it'll show hidden files?
Can you walk them to the location?
Yeah, it's should be there.
Pretty hard to see.
If you do that, and if it's not there, maybe try opening it as root.
this is why many of us still like to have a GUI alongside of this, right?
Yes.
Makes it easier.
You've seen the power of a GUI. You
Brian,
thought you knew, but go ahead.
is opening something with root the same as like running as administrator on Windows?
Yeah, yeah, it's basically, because if you're not in root, sometimes files are hidden from you, but, and also if you don't open as root, it won't let you modify it. But that's why you do sudo nano to access the file. It's just the same thing as sudo in the terminal. I had to do that for my other one.
Okay, well, that's all right. Here's a question for the class. What's DAEMON?
Background process?
It is a process. How do you say it?
A daemon.
Daemon? Okay, lots of people get that mixed up. They might call it a demon, might call it a Damien, might call it a, yeah, they might be called demons because they might be a problem, I don't know, but usually it's a daemon, it's a service. He made reference to that in there. And, okay. I think that's all of my questions. Oh, I wanted to see you run the LSPCI command or whatever it was.
So it gives host bridge Intel Corporation 440FX, Ethernet controller Intel Corporation 82 540EM gigabit Ethernet controller, USB controller, gives your SATA controller. I can't see it very well.
Oh, it's, what did it technically stand for, LSCPI or whatever, what was it? The list of,
But like your device drivers, like what they're named.
okay. Okay, well, hopefully you're finding whatever you can do on Windows, you can do in Linux too, you just have to take a different approach. Anybody else have any questions for him? All right, give him a hand. What time is it?
153.
Phew, he just barely made it 3 minutes past his timeline. Oh, wow.